Long ago, in the heart of a quiet village, there stood a humble cottage on the edge of the vast and mysterious Whispering Woods. Here lived a kind but struggling woodcutter, his wife, and their 2 children, Liam and Alara. The family had always been poor, but a harsh winter had made their lives even more difficult. Food was scarce, and each day, the father worried about how to keep his children from going hungry. One night, as the woodcutter lay restless in bed, his wife sighed and spoke in a hushed but firm voice. "We can barely feed ourselves. How will we provide for the children?" The woodcutter frowned. "There must be another way." "There is no other way," she insisted. "At dawn, we take them deep into the forest, far beyond the trails they know. We will leave them there with what little food we can spare. They will not find their way back." The father's heart ached at the thought. "I cannot do such a thing. They are only children." "You must," she said coldly, "or we will all starve." In the shadows of their small room, Liam and Alara clung to each other, having overheard every word. Alara's eyes welled with tears. "Liam, what will we do?" "Don't worry," Liam whispered. "I have a plan." That night, while everyone slept, Liam crept outside. The moon bathed the ground in silver light, revealing small, smooth stones scattered around the yard. He filled his pockets with as many as he could carry and hurried back inside. "Rest, Alara," he murmured. "We will not be lost." The morning arrived with a bitter chill, and the stepmother shook them awake. "Get up, we are gathering wood in the forest." She handed each of them a small piece of bread. "This is all you get for the day. Do not eat it too soon." Alara hid her bread beneath her shawl, while Liam kept his pockets heavy with stones. As they walked deeper into the woods, he glanced back again and again. "Why do you keep turning around?" his father asked. "I am looking at my white cat," Liam said, pretending to smile. "She's waving goodbye from the roof," his stepmother scoffed. "That is only the sun glinting on the chimney." But Liam was not looking at a cat. Each time he turned, he dropped a small stone onto the forest floor, leaving behind a secret path home. Little did they know, the Whispering Woods held secrets of its own, secrets that neither Liam, Alara, nor even the stepmother could have imagined. Their adventure had only just begun. As the family ventured deeper into the Whispering Woods, the towering trees grew denser, their thick branches casting eerie shadows over the forest floor. Eventually, the father stopped and turned to his children. "Gather some wood, my dears. We shall build a fire to keep you warm." Liam and Alara hurried to collect dry branches, stacking them into a small mound. Soon, bright flames crackled, sending warm flickers into the cool air. Their stepmother forced a smile. "Now, stay here and rest. We must go deeper into the forest to cut more wood. When we are ready, we will return for you." The children sat close to the fire, the heat comforting against their skin. At midday, they nibbled on the small pieces of bread they had been given, their stomachs still aching with hunger. From time to time, they heard the steady sound of chopping echoing through the trees, but what they did not know was that the sound was only a broken branch swaying in the wind. Hours passed, the flames dimmed, and the cold crept in. Sleep overtook them. When they awoke, the night had swallowed the forest, and Alara's eyes filled with tears. "Liam, what do we do now? How will we ever find our way back?" "Don't be afraid," Liam whispered, squeezing her hand. "We must wait for the moon to rise. Then we will see the path." As the silver moon climbed into the sky, its light reflected off the tiny stones Liam had dropped along the way. The shimmering trail led them home. Step by step, they walked the entire night, their legs aching until, at the first light of dawn, their familiar cottage came into view. They knocked softly, and when the door swung open, their stepmother gasped. "You foolish children! Why did you sleep so long in the woods? We thought you would never return." But their father's expression softened. His heart had ached since the moment he left them behind, and now, seeing them safe, he felt a wave of relief. However, their troubles were far from over. Not long after, another famine struck, leaving the family with almost nothing. That night, as Liam and Alara lay in bed, they overheard their stepmother's hushed words once more. "This time, we must take them farther. They must not find their way back." The father hesitated. "Perhaps we could share our last bit of food with them." But his wife shook her head. "No, what has been done once can be done again." Liam held his breath as he listened. He knew he needed more stones to mark the path, but when he crept to the door, he found it locked. He could not escape to gather them. Still, he turned to his sister with quiet determination. "Do not worry, Alara. We will find a way." At dawn, The stepmother pulled them from their beds. She handed them each an even smaller piece of bread than before, barely enough to keep their hunger at bay. As they trudged into the woods once more, Liam broke his bread into tiny crumbs, letting them fall along the path. "Why do you keep stopping?" his father asked. "I see a little bird on the roof, waving goodbye," Liam answered. "You foolish boy," his stepmother snapped. "That is no bird, only the sun on the chimney." Still, Liam continued dropping breadcrumbs along the way. This time, they ventured farther than ever before, deeper into an unfamiliar part of the forest. Once again, a fire was built, and their stepmother's voice rang out, "Stay here, rest, and when we are done gathering wood, we will come back for you." But as noon arrived and hunger gnawed at their stomachs, Elara broke her bread in half and shared it with Liam. Neither of them knew that when the time came to return home, the breadcrumbs Liam had scattered would be nowhere to be found. Something, or someone, had taken them, and now they were truly lost. Night fell, wrapping the forest in darkness. Liam and Elara shivered beneath the towering trees, their stomachs aching with hunger. "Don't be afraid," Liam whispered, holding his sister close. "When the moon rises, we will see the breadcrumbs and find our way home." But as the pale glow of the moon bathed the forest in silver light, their hearts sank. The breadcrumbs were gone. Not a single trace remained. The creatures of the woods, the birds, the mice, and whatever else lurked unseen, had feasted upon their only hope of returning home. Liam clenched his fists. "We'll find another way." The two wandered for hours, their steps growing heavier with each passing moment. They walked through the endless night, through the cold morning mist, and into the weary hours of the next evening. With nothing to eat but a few scattered berries, their strength faded. When they could go no further, they curled up beneath a large oak tree and drifted into an uneasy sleep. By the time the third morning arrived, the trees around them seemed even taller, the shadows deeper, the forest more unfamiliar. Every attempt to retrace their steps only led them deeper into the unknown. Just as despair threatened to consume them, a soft melody filled the air. Elara looked up. A small snow-white bird perched on a low branch, singing the most delicate tune. "Liam, listen," she whispered. The bird's bright eyes watched them before it spread its wings and soared ahead. Without hesitation, they followed, their tired legs pushing forward with newfound hope. The bird led them past thick brambles and winding trails, until at last it landed atop a small house nestled among the trees. But this was no ordinary house. Liam and Elara stared in awe. The walls were made of warm, golden bread, the roof layered with spiced cakes, and the windows gleamed like clear sugar. The scent of cinnamon and honey filled the air. Liam's stomach rumbled. "Do you think it's real?" Elara hesitated, then reached for the window pane. She broke off a small piece and placed it on her tongue. It melted into sweetness. "It is real," she gasped. Liam grinned and pulled a chunk from the roof. "Then we shall have a proper meal at last." But before they could eat more, a voice crept from inside the house, thin and eerie, like wind through the trees. "Nibble, nibble, little ones. Who dares to taste my home?" Elara's hand froze mid-bite. She glanced at Liam, eyes wide with fear. "The wind," Liam answered quickly. "It must be the wind." Reassured, they continued eating, too hungry to question the voice further. Liam tore off another piece of the warm roof, while Elara broke off an entire sugar window, settling down to enjoy it. Then, with a loud creak, the wooden door swung open. An old woman stepped out, leaning heavily on a crooked staff. Her face was wrinkled like dried fruit, but her eyes glimmered with something unreadable. Liam and Elara froze. My, the woman cooed, her voice as sweet as honey. "What lovely children. What brings you to my home?" We were lost in the woods," Elara stammered. The woman nodded, a slow, deliberate movement. "Then you must stay with me. You must be cold and hungry." She extended her hand, her fingers bony yet firm, and led them inside. The warm air inside the cottage was filled with the scent of milk, apples, and baked treats. A feast awaited them. Bowls of porridge, golden pancakes dusted with sugar, roasted nuts, and steaming cider. Liam and Elara hesitated, but their hunger was too great. They ate, their exhaustion melting away in the comfort of the cozy little house. After the meal, the old woman led them to a pair of small white beds. "Sleep now, little ones," she murmured. "You are safe here." Liam's eyes fluttered shut, and Elara sighed, sinking into the soft mattress. For the first time in days, they felt warm. Yet, in the flickering candlelight, the old woman stood by the doorway, watching them with a knowing smile. Because, though she had been kind, she was not kind at all. She had built this house for one reason alone: to lure in children. And once they were inside, they never left. The old woman's eyes were clouded with age, unable to see far, but her senses were sharp. She could smell the presence of children long before they arrived. And when Liam and Alara stumbled upon her cottage, she had already known. "They are mine now," she whispered to herself with a twisted smile, "and they shall never leave." Before the first light of dawn, she crept into their room, watching as they slept soundly, their faces soft and peaceful. A wicked grin stretched across her wrinkled face. "Such tender little ones," she murmured. "What a feast they shall make." Without a moment's hesitation, she seized Liam's arm in her bony grasp and dragged him through a dark passageway into a small, iron-barred enclosure outside. He struggled, shouting for help, but the witch only cackled. "Call all you want, boy," she said. "No one will hear you." Then she turned to Alara, shaking her roughly. "Up, lazy child. Fetch water and prepare a meal for your brother. He must be fattened up, for soon he shall be my supper." Tears burned in Alara's eyes, but she had no choice. Each day, the witch fed Liam the richest of foods: fresh bread, roasted meats, and sweet fruits, while Alara received nothing but scraps and shells. Each morning, the witch shuffled to the cage, her voice rasping. "Liam, stretch out your hand. Let me see if you've grown plump enough." But Liam was clever. Instead of his hand, he held out a thin, brittle bone he had found among the discarded scraps. The witch's weak eyes could not tell the difference, and she scowled. "Still so thin?" she muttered. "Why is this taking so long?" Weeks passed, and still, the boy remained lean. Frustrated, the witch finally lost patience. "Enough waiting," she barked one morning. "Alara, fetch water. Fat or thin, tomorrow I shall feast upon him." Alara's heart pounded. "Please," she begged. "Let us go." "Silence, girl," the witch snapped. "Tears will not save you." That morning, Alara was forced to light the fire and prepare the baking. Smoke curled from the great black oven, and flames licked hungrily at the wood inside. "We will start with the bread," the witch announced. "The oven is already heated." She turned to Alara, her grin widening. "Crawl inside and see if it is hot enough." Alara froze. She understood the wicked woman's plan. I don't know how," she said, her voice trembling. "How do I get in?" The witch scoffed. "Foolish child, the opening is wide enough. Look, even I could fit." She bent forward, shoving her head inside to demonstrate. That was all Alara needed. With all her strength, she shoved the old woman forward, slamming the iron door shut. A shriek of rage filled the air as the witch thrashed and screamed, but it was too late. The flames roared higher, swallowing her whole. Alara stepped back, heart pounding. The forest, the shadows, and the horrors of the past days seemed to dissolve into silence. Then she turned and ran. She reached the cage where Liam was trapped, threw open the iron door, and gasped, "Liam, we're free." The witch was gone. As soon as the iron door had closed behind her, the nightmare ended. Liam bolted from the cage, his heart pounding. The moment his feet touched the ground, he rushed to Alara, and they embraced tightly, laughing and crying all at once. "We did it!" Liam gasped. "We're free!" Hand in hand, they turned toward the cottage that had once been a place of terror. But now, there was nothing to fear. As they explored its dark corners, their eyes widened with wonder. Hidden in every crevice were wooden chests filled with shimmering treasures, pearls, gold coins, and gemstones that glowed like captured stars. "This is better than breadcrumbs," Liam said, stuffing his pockets with as many jewels as he could carry. Alara giggled, scooping up handfuls of sparkling stones and letting them tumble into the folds of her apron. "Now we will never go hungry again." At last, with no reason to stay, they turned toward the dense forest. "Let's go home," Liam said. "If only we can find our way out." For hours, they wandered beneath the towering trees, their hearts lifting as the path slowly became familiar. But soon, they came upon a great river, its waters dark and restless. "How will we cross?" Liam wondered aloud. "There's no bridge or stepping stones." Alara scanned the water, then pointed. "Look!" Gliding gracefully across the rippling surface was a beautiful white swan. As it neared the shore, Alara spoke softly. "Swan, swan, gentle and bright. Help us cross this river wide. Take us safely, side by side. On your wings, be our guide." The swan tilted its head as if it understood. It paddled closer, and Liam climbed onto its back, balancing carefully. He turned to help his sister, but she shook her head. "No, that would be too heavy for the swan," she said. "We will cross one at a time." And so, the swan carried them across the river. First Liam, then Ilara, its feathers glowing in the morning light. With the forest behind them, the path home became clearer, the trees thinning until, at last, a small house appeared in the distance. Their house. Tears welled in their eyes as they ran the final stretch. The door flew open, and their father stood before them, his face lined with sorrow that vanished the moment he saw his children. "Liam, Ilara," he cried, pulling them into his arms. "I thought I had lost you forever." His embrace was warm, his voice thick with emotion. He had not known a moment of peace since the day he left them in the woods, but as they stood together, the family whole again, he vowed never to let them go. And as for the cruel stepmother, she was gone, lost to the hardships of the world she had so coldly embraced. Ilara opened her apron, and pearls and gemstones spilled across the wooden floor, catching the morning sunlight. Liam grinned, pulling fistfuls of treasure from his pockets. They would never go hungry again. From that day on, they lived in comfort and joy, free from fear, free from hunger, and filled with the magic of their adventure. And so their story ends. But perhaps somewhere, in the heart of the Whispering Woods, another tale is waiting to begin. Did you enjoy the adventure? Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another magical tale. Which story should we tell next? Let us know in the comments. Until then, keep dreaming, keep believing, and let the magic of stories guide you.